Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Thursday, the 2nd of July. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind Driving More and the founder of News and Sports Radio. And today on the news, we have 2-meter Peter steps aside. The Wellington Phoenix schedule has been announced. It looks like the All Blacks end of year tour is off. And we also have NZNBL updates as well. And let's jump straight into, this is your best way to start the day. Up to date with all the important sports news. Got to get the catchphrase in there, folks. Got to get the catchphrase in there. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. And let's start off with that football news it will be over in Australia. The Phoenix have had their schedule announced. They are one of the teams that got one of the most games left to play. So they're going to have to play six matches in 24 days. That's very short turnarounds. They'll start on Friday, the 17th of July against Sydney FC, who are currently top of the table, before having a relatively long period, 6 days until they play their Perth Glory game. And then it gets a bit more hectic, 3 days to Adelaide United, another 5 days to Western Sydney. And then Wednesday, August the 5th, is Brisbane Roar, and August the 9th is the Newcastle Jets before the final series start on August the 15th. Currently, the Phoenix are looking at a top 2 finish and hence making it into those finals. They currently sit third on the ladder on 36 points with Melbourne City on 40 points, just 4 points ahead of them, but having played 3 games more. So City only got 3 more games of the season, whereas the Phoenix have got 6. So if they get a good start, then it will. They could very well be making that final series. They have been hampered by training. They're coming out of their 14-day quarantine period of heading over to Australia, whereas the other teams have been training as a group. 2 players have had to be training on their own in their hotel rooms. So lots of press-ups and short shuttles, but they have been given an exercise bike as well to try and keep fit over those 14 days. The final one of those comes out tomorrow on Friday. I'll hand you over to Ashwin, and we'll find out what that 2-meter Pete thing is all about.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to our viewers and listeners out there on the interweb. Yeah, 2-meter Peter. So that's 2-meter Peter stepping aside as Peter Fulton. He has relinquished his role as the Black Caps batting coach and will return to coach Canterbury in the upcoming season. He will start in the role as head coach with Canterbury Cricket on August the 1st, taking over from Brendan Dongas, whose contract expired at the end of last season. Fulton has a bit of work ahead of him. Canterbury hasn't won a title since he retired playing cricket for them. And last season, they finished 5th in the T20 and Plunket Shield, which is the 4-day format, but made it to the elimination final in the Ford Trophy, where they lost to Otago. That's the 50-over format. So, as I said, he's got a bit of work there, but he has picked up Daryl Mitchell amongst his charges. So, there's obviously trying to rebuild a bit of a squad there. Now, moving along, after 4 years as ICC chairman, Shashank Manhar has stepped down from the role, and Imran Khawaja, the deputy chairman, will be appointed as the interim chairman until Manhar's successor is found. Manhar rose to the ICC chairmanship in 2016, where he was elected unopposed, and went on to claim a second term in 2018 in a similar fashion. Despite strong opposition from the BCCI, he has overseen changes to the ICC's governance structure and finance model. So he's actually got a bit achieved. Now, favourite to replace Manhar in the role as the ICC's chairman is Colin Graves, who stood down as the ECB chairman not too long ago. Now, as we move closer to a bit of the cricket, and it's in England's inter-squad 3-day match, James Bracey, as a new name to us, has starred with the bat as he scored 85 for a Josh Buttler 11. Uncapped Dan Lawrence scored 58 and Joe Denley 48. James Anderson picked up 2 wickets. Josh Buttler's on 24 and Sam Curran 15 are both the not-out batsmen at the end of day 1 and will continue on day 2, as the Josh Buttler 11 made it through to 287 for 5 at stumps. And with the actual on-field play starting to get closer with the Test series between England and West Indies. Join Rohit, Taryn, and myself on Swinging from the Hip right here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We will preview that first test, which starts next Wednesday, the 8th of July at the Aegeus Bowl. And join us in the show for your thoughts on what will happen in that series through the comments and chat sections on the Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you join us for your cricketing fix, watching Swinging from the Hip right here on New Zealand Sport Radio tonight at 8 p.m. And that is our cricket news for today, Paul.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. And just got to go back over some football news as I missed out some scores. Arsenal have beaten Norwich 4-0. AFC Bournemouth are in trouble after losing 1-4 to Newcastle, and Everton beat Leicester City 2-1 over there in the English Premiership. And I'm now going to hand you over to Stephen, who will take us through our birthdays.
Good morning, Paul, and welcome to everybody tuning into New Zealand Sports Radio. In birthdays today, first player to score 10,000 runs in New Zealand first-class cricket, a Kiwi Rugby League international that had 2 stints at the Warriors and a well-travelled Rugby League professional. And that's where we start our birthdays this morning. Richard Swain, born this day, the 2nd of July, 1975, is a professional rugby league footballer who played in the 90s and 2000s. A New Zealand international representative hooker, he played club football in Australia for the Hunter Mariners, Melbourne Storm, with whom he won the 1999 NRL Premiership, and Brisbane Broncos, and in England for Hull FC. Staying with rugby league, Ritchie Blackmore, born this day, the 2nd of July 1969, is a rugby league coach and a former professional footballer who represented the New Zealand Kiwis. His best position of preference was centre. Blackmore, as a professional rugby league player, had stints with Castleford between 91 and 1994, the Auckland Warriors in 95 and 1996, Leader Rhinos from 98 to 2000, and finally a return stint at the Warriors in 2001. He also made 25 appearances for the New Zealand Kiwis between 1991 and 2000. Blackmore turned his hand to coaching after retiring with New Zealand Warriors. And finally, Michael William Peps, born this day, the 2nd of July 1979, is a former New Zealand cricketer. In October 2016, he became the first player to score 10,000 runs in the Plunket Shield. In 2017, he scored 316 not out for Wellington against Auckland in the 2017-2018 Plunket Shield season. This was the highest individual score for Wellington in the Plunket Shield. Peps also became the oldest New Zealand batsman to score a triple century in first-class cricket. Peps and Luke Woodcock made an opening partnership of 432 runs, the highest opening partnership and the highest partnership for any wicket in the first-class cricket in New Zealand. I'm pretty sure that both Sanjay and Taryn will probably have a little bit to say in Swinging from the Hip on the show later this evening. But that's it for birthdays today. I'll be back shortly with some rugby league.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that update. Moving on to Rugby Union then. And Chili Boy Raphael has been banned for 8 years for use of Zeranol, which is an anabolic agent. He was caught back in January 2019. He challenged the ban, but it was upheld. This is his 3rd positive test, with 2 happening overseas, one of which was ruled a no-fault decision, and he received a reprimand. So yes, that 33, you've got to say that pretty much brings an end to his career. And yes, we do want to say that you've got to all doping cheats and need to be punished, because look, it is bad for their health and bad for other athletes as well. The All Blacks end of year tour looks like is looking increasingly unlikely. The Six Nations teams are rumoured to have invited Fiji and Japan to play in what would be an 8 nations tournament. There will be 2 pools of 4 playing 3 games on November the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th, with a final on December the 5th. So interesting to see how that all pans out. All rumoured at the moment. There has been suggestions of an extended Bledisloe Cup series of up to 4 games as well, but that obviously would depend on a trans-Tasman bubble, and with increased cases in Melbourne in particular, that could cause a problem. And so I'm going to hand you back now to Stephen, who will take us through our NRL update.
Good morning again, Paul, and welcome back, everybody. In league news this morning, we preview tonight's big clash between the Roosters and the Storm. But first, league great Ricky Stewart says the Warriors have been ruined by the influence of player agents. The Canberra Raiders coach, a former Kangaroo, has implied that the controversial Sydney agent Isaac Moses, who runs Cove Agency, is at the heart of the Warriors' troubles. Stewart's tirade against players' managers has been fueled by the impending loss of his clever England forward John Bateman to another club. Bateman hired Moses as his new agent late last season. The Telegraph reported Stewart as saying he didn't want the Raiders to be ruined like the Broncos or the Warriors after they released Bateman from the final year of his contract in 2021. The NRL needs to help clubs with how we have to deal with certain managers over the way they agitate clubs and manipulate communications and negotiations to suit them and suit themselves only, Stewart said. It's not always in the best interest of the player. The last thing we will do will be as a club where the Broncos or the Warriors, where they have been ruined by agitation and manipulation of roster, until the league jumps in and starts helping the club with the rot that happens with manipulation of rosters. We have our hands tied behind our back. The Warriors and Broncos clash on Saturday night, with both clubs near the foot of the table and in disarray. Moses, who had his NRL accreditation cancelled this month, represents some of the league's biggest names, including the Melbourne Storm legend Cameron Smith. And speaking of the Melbourne Storm, and tonight, look out for the first game of round 8 this evening, when the Melbourne Storm take on the Sydney Roosters at Suncorp Stadium at 9:50 p.m. this evening. And just in a bit of team news, firstly, Riley Jacks comes into the halves in place of Cameron Munster, who has a knee injury. Josh Adokar and Christian Welch will be monitored after suffering head knocks last weekend. The Storm have won 12 of their 13 past games at a Suncorp Stadium. And in team news for the Roosters, Jack Friend is back in the starting team with Sam Verrills, who has a ACL, who is out, and Nat Butcher starts at lock for Victor Radley, who also has an ACL. James Tedesco returns from a head knock at fullback, pushing Joseph Manu into centre alongside a returning Josh Morris, with Ryan Hall out and Mitch Avuson to the interchange. Poasa Famasili will come in from the bench on his return from a stint with the Warriors. He was on loan. The Roosters have won 3 of their past 4 games in Queensland. So it's third place taking on fourth place. Both teams sitting on 10 points. Should be a beauty. My pick, however, I'm going to go to the Storm by 6 points in a tight one, given their record at Suncorp. And that's it in league news today. Have a great day, everybody. Look out for that game tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that NRL update. And don't forget, folks, you are listening to New Zealand Sports Radio. Moving on then to America's Cup news. And it's been positive recently, talking about boats getting on the water. But unfortunately, there is some not so good news. There's been an alleged scam which has involved the transfer of TV monies to a Hungarian bank account by the event arm ACE, and it sounds like there was an email that changed the bank that came from externally to change the bank account, which made that happen. So the police are investigating that. There are other investigations going on at the moment in there. It's all very complicated, folks. So I suggest if you wanted to get a full handle on that, then check out one of the news websites. But yes, it looks like that a lot of this has been generated by that leak that we talked about, the contractor that has been removed because of leaking information. And it sounds like some of it may not be, all of it may not be entirely true. Moving on to the NZNBL, and boy, oh boy, it has been a couple of big nights over there. Yesterday, we talked about the Auckland Huskies getting their first ever win over the Taranaki Mountaineers, which unfortunately has come at a cost for them because their star, Leon Henry, has got a one-game ban for grabbing a rival player by the throat. So he has so undue force, I think, is the term that happened after both players, Henry and Rorukuru, who he grabbed, both fell to the floor, but there were exchanges afterwards, and Henry obviously took it too far. So he will miss the Huskies' next game, which is some way off, actually, is on the 5th of July against the Nelson Giants. Last night, though, we had two very, very big results. The Taranaki Mountaineers absolutely dominated the Otago Nuggets, 107-81. So bounced back very well from that loss to the Auckland Huskies to beat the previously undefeated Otago Nuggets. That was followed up by another big upset with the Manawatu Jets beating the Canterbury Rams 108-93. The Canterbury Rams were on a 3-game winning streak. The Manawatu Jets had only won one game previously. So yes, so the two table toppers both came cropper last night, and that means now that every single team has won a game and every single team has lost a game, which shows you how competitive this league is. Canterbury Rams do remain top of the table with Otago Nuggets in second. The Taranaki Mountaineers now are up in third place, having played the most games, 5 games. They've got 3 wins and 2 losses. They're followed by the Franklin Bulls on 2 wins, Manawatu Jets on 2 wins, the Auckland Huskies on 1, and the Nelson Giants on 1. All those teams have played 4 games so far. This evening, we have 2 more ties. The Otago Nuggets against the Franklin Bulls, so they get to try and bounce back from that loss to the Mountaineers, and the Canterbury Rams facing the Nelson Giants. They also get the opportunity to bounce back from their loss as well. The Franklin Bulls currently sat in 4th and the Nelson Giants in last, so they'll be looking for upsets yet again. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all the important sports news. Don't forget that this weekend we have Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU is also kicking off. We'll be previewing all of those games at 8 p.m. on Friday evening, and you can get my predictions are already up on drivingmall.com, our website. So have a wonderful day, folks, and don't forget to join Ashwin and the team at 8 p.m. this evening for Swinging from the Hip.